Hi, Colleen. Could you go ahead and introduce yourself for us?
Sure. My name is Colleen Withers, and I am a local landowner in the Summer Lake Paisley Valley. And I also work for our local soil and water conservation districts and the Lake County Umbrella Watershed Council. And I help out with our recently formed Chewaucan Watershed Collaborative.
Great. And why are you joining us here today? What's going on in Lake County?
Yeah, so I think as with anywhere, and especially closed basin systems, as we are in dry, hot times, water management and water quality and water availability are coming to the forefront and gaining a lot of attention in all of these basins, which Lake County is full of. Mostly right now, there's just been quite a bit of publicity, just kind of calling for action about assessment and analysis in these basins. We don't have much current data to drive a lot of the management decisions in the basins. And so we've got a lot of interest basically among a wide variety of stakeholders, including conservationists, the producers in the valley, the local SWCDs. There's kind of a lot of assessment and analysis needed to make appropriate water management decisions. Issues drawing the most attention is that of Abert Lake. And Abert Lake is a saline lake at the end of the Chewaucan system. And it's an important stop for migratory birds. And kind of when the conditions are right, it hosts metric tons of invertebrates that feed migratory birds as they fly along and migrate to their breeding grounds, nesting grounds, stopping points. And so anyway, there's some conservationists that are concerned about Abert Lake kind of drying. And then there's a lot of producers in the basin that are concerned about just the variety of pressures that a system like the Chewaucan River experiences on these dry years. And so basically this all began with, a newspaper article kind of calling attention to Lake Abert and fear of its desiccation. And then there were a few letters written directly to Governor Brown and some of the state agencies that make water management decisions. And so in an effort to just become a voice for local landowners and stakeholders, we formed what's called the Chewaucan Watershed Collaborative, or the CWC. So basically it was just creating a group that was willing to build working relationships with everyone interested in this basin and provide that local voice and that local representation for producers in the valley. We as producers certainly consider ourselves stewards of land and water, and without water as a resource, we would have trouble ranching and farming in this valley. But it's also a matter of what I mean, the CWC hopefully being a model is that we're willing to collaborate with everyone involved. And we understand that if we engage with everyone, we're going to make the best decisions for the basin.
Definitely. So what are some of the next steps for this program or this process, and how can producers get more involved in your area?
Sure. So we've done a couple of things. We filmed a video that wasn't necessarily focused on a particular element or really any kind of like water management in general. What we have felt with the collaborative, and this was part of our effort in the tour, what we felt was that there is an entire story to be told in the Chewaucan Basin. And while Abert Lake is important and it's an important ecosystem, we felt like there was a lot of other things that needed to be told in this basin, including, we've had 5 catastrophic wildfires in the last 5 years. 75% of our upper watershed is currently burned. And we would love, resources and money and people to help rehabilitate that upper watershed. And, there's certain things just about our wet meadow systems and the type of agriculture that takes place in this basin that is conducive to migratory bird habitat, that is, in an effort to assist the fisheries of the Chewaucan redband trout in the basin. And that, if we can find ways to cooperate with landowners and conservationists, we can find that win-win situation where, the wildlife, the people, the stream, and the meadows, and even the lake ultimately, as we hopefully get wet years,
Yeah, hopefully.
can benefit. So what's next for us is right now we did that film, and we hope that it's just something that is kind of, just telling the story of the Chewaucan watershed. It's not really a specific message other than this is where we live, this is why it's unique, and this is why, the good things that are happening in the basin, and then maybe some things that we appreciate about it, and why people choose to live here, and that interconnectedness of ranching and farming. As a rancher, I would have loved for the video to be like all about ranching, but that's not really the whole story. There's a lot going on here, and down to, we have like a unique little school. We've got a third generation garage that does everything in the valley, and we are starting our relationship building and our collaboration. Just as our name suggests, we decided that we really need to reach out and engage with some of these conservation groups that are very concerned about Abert Lake. And so, we're just done a few casual outreach. We're currently organizing maybe something a little bit bigger in June, just to reach out with these folks and connect with them in hopes that it's just this relationship building opportunity, get to know each other, and then we can hopefully establish some working relationships and the right dynamics to kind of move forward to see what type of actions may be taken or need to be taken in the basin.
You mentioned the tour a little bit, and we talked a little bit about that. Could you expand on what that tour was specifically for, and who you invited there, and why it was so valuable?
Sure. So we have been a collaborative for about two and a half weeks before the tour even happened. And like I said, as a collaborative, we don't want to deny that the lake in its own respect is important. But what was missing from some of the publicity that the lake was receiving was just context, and just that here's the entire catchment, that there's a whole, there's many ecosystems within this basin that are just as important, and Abert Lake's one of those many ecosystems. And we were really new, so we took a lot of leadership from those legislators. They helped us kind of organize it, and then we just spent the whole day touring around the basin, and we had folks from we had retired ODFW wildlife biologists that were kind of the key speakers of the tour, and they just talked about how important Abert Lake is, but how migratory birds use the entire wet meadow system and the entire Chewaucan basin. They also talked about kind of the devastation of these wildfires and drought, and how drought, not only are ranchers and farmers suffering, our wildlife is too. And that's something that's kind of often, I guess, forgotten, is that, even something, everybody looks at elk and deer and those larger wildlife is, pretty majestic, but nobody thinks about migratory birds maybe suffering in times of drought, and they do. And so, just kind of providing that context. We had some local natural resource leaders, one of which was a project manager from our local Watershed Council, talk about a lot of the post-fire recovery projects that we've been working on. So I think mostly it was just the opportunity to get everybody's feet on the ground. And, so many folks had studied the basin from Google Earth before they'd even set foot in the basin. So I think it was great to just look at the system, look at the drought, look at the lack of water in the system to begin with, look at how water managers and ranchers and farmers and the city use water, because it's a little bit different than other basins. You know, our basin is not, there's very few, I think there's like 4 water right holders. Don't quote me on this. there's more flood irrigation than there is groundwater in this basin. And that's where the way it moves through the marsh kind of mimics that historic behavior of the river to begin with. So I think it was great for people to kind of get on the ground and see how agriculture operates in this particular basin. I know it's not that way in everywhere, but it was a unique part of this area.
Do you have any information if people want to learn more? Is there anywhere they can go online to learn about your initiative?
We do have an email that we set up for the collaborative, and I can forward it to you as well, because Chewaucan is such a fancy word. Chewaucan Watershed Collab @gmail.com. And so we're kind of fielding questions, or if anybody has any additional information, things like that. We also are kind of operating on donation. So if folks are interested, we're kind of housed by the Lakeview SWCD. So, you know, folks, if they're interested at all, can send donations to the Lakeview SWCD. We've made some great strides in, just like I said, reaching out and engaging with some of these folks that are so concerned about Abert Lake. And I really hope that some really good things can come up from like a working relationship with them. The resource and the information that may come out of this is just as important to us as producers as it is to conservationists. And I think that's where we're hoping to align with these groups is what kind of information do we need? How do we get it? And what's helpful to everyone involved? Like I said, I hope that the CWC is a bit of a model, because I think I don't think water interests and interest in water management are going away, especially in Eastern Oregon, where we've got these closed basin systems and limited water. So I hope that maybe other counties or other basins can take a look at what we've done and what we're doing. And we're learning a lot of lessons along the way. There's already some things that we may have done differently, but I do hope that it's kind of a model, a working model for other stakeholders and landowners to use.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on here and talking to us and telling us more about your program out there.